Welcome to our U.S. briefing show. Today, we're kicking things off with President Trump celebrating his legislative win, calling it the best birthday present for America. He marked the 4th of July with a rally full of patriotic displays, entertainment, and even a surprise UFC fight at the White House. Despite the festive mood, the event highlighted ongoing political divides and ambitious plans for America's future. Next, we rewind to 1775, when colonists sent the Olive Branch Petition to King George III, a heartfelt plea for peace just before the revolution erupted. It was a moment of cautious hope, blending loyalty with a desire for independence, an intriguing chapter that set the stage for America's fight for freedom. Finally, in Ukraine, Kyiv was hit by a major Russian drone attack, injuring several civilians. The attack came after a pause in U.S. aid, sparking debates over military support and strategy. President Zelenskyy hopes to discuss aid delays with Trump, while Moscow remains open to talks, keeping tensions high as the conflict drags on for over 860 days. Please continue to watch for more detailed updates. Yahoo US reports that Donald Trump marked the 4th of July by celebrating the passage of his signature tax and spend legislation, which he called the best birthday present for America, during a rally in Des Moines, Iowa. The event, part of a year-long celebration of America's 250th anniversary, was transformed into a campaign rally where Trump mocked political opponents, reiterated false claims about election theft, and lambasted fake news. Despite the festive atmosphere, Trump's speech was divisive, emphasizing his achievements, such as the recent passing of his One Big Beautiful Bill, which extends tax cuts, boosts defense spending, and cuts social programs, while criticizing Democrats and touting his administration's successes. He also announced ambitious plans for the semi-quincentennial, including a Great American State Fair, a UFC championship fight at the White House grounds, and a televised Patriot Games, all designed to foster national pride amid a deeply polarized political climate. His rhetoric, infused with patriotic fervor and a sense of personal victory, was punctuated by moments of tension, such as a distant fireworks explosion, hinting at ongoing security concerns, but the rally concluded with fireworks and a lively YMCA sing-along, leaving supporters energized by his recent political wins. The AP details the historical context of the upcoming 250th anniversary, focusing on the Olive Branch Petition of July 1775, a last-ditch effort by colonists to reconcile with Britain before declaring independence. Written by John Dickinson, the petition expressed a desire for peace and maintained loyalty to King George III, reflecting the colony's hope to avoid full rebellion despite escalating tensions. Historians like Joseph Ellis describe this period as an awkward interval, where American leaders sought a delicate balance of resolve and reconciliation, symbolized by Dickinson's plea for peace alongside the preparation for armed conflict, notably the appointment of George Washington as commander of the Continental Army. The narrative underscores that the road to independence was gradual, marked by internal divisions and cautious diplomacy, with many colonists still clinging to hopes of peaceful resolution even as the revolutionary momentum grew. This nuanced moment in history exemplifies the complex interplay of patriotism, pragmatism, and the fierce desire for self-determination that ultimately led to the birth of a new nation. Deutsche Welle reports on the recent Russian drone attack targeting Kyiv amid ongoing debates over U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Russian forces launched a massive assault, striking at least 13 locations across the Ukrainian capital, causing fires, injuries, and widespread damage. The attack coincided with a pause in some U.S. weapons shipments, such as Patriot missiles, raising concerns in Kyiv about the impact on Ukraine's defenses. Trump's controversial claim that the U.S. emptied out its arsenal to supply Ukraine added fuel to the debate over American support, with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy seeking clarification and hoping to speak with Trump soon. Meanwhile, Putin expressed willingness for further negotiations with Ukraine, though Moscow remains committed to its strategic objectives, refusing to give up its gains. This escalation of violence underscores the precarious state of the conflict, with Kyiv under threat and international tensions high, illustrating the complex global stakes involved in Ukraine's fight for sovereignty amid shifting U.S. policies and Russian resilience. According to Yahoo US, the plight of rural hospitals across America is increasingly dire as the threat of significant Medicaid cuts looms. In Nebraska, nurse Tyler Sherman at Webster County Community Hospital fears that a proposed $1 trillion reduction in Medicaid over 10 years could shutter vital facilities, forcing residents to travel nearly an hour for emergency care, a journey that could prove fatal for some. The impact extends beyond Nebraska, with experts warning that over 300 rural hospitals nationwide could close, leaving thousands in remote areas without accessible emergency services. States like Kentucky are expected to suffer the most, with projected losses of billions in Medicaid funding, potentially leading to the closure of dozens of hospitals and the loss of healthcare coverage for hundreds of thousands. Advocates argue that the proposed $50 billion rural hospital fund is grossly insufficient, especially as Medicaid payments have historically fallen short of actual treatment costs, leaving these hospitals operating on razor-thin margins and vulnerable to financial collapse. CNN narrates the story of Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest, transforming a simple summer tradition into a spectacle that symbolizes America's obsession with excess. Every 4th of July, millions tune in to watch competitors like Joey Chestnut, who has won the contest 16 times and set a record by devouring 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. This event, rooted in a history of competitive eating dating back centuries, has evolved from informal county fair contests involving simple foods like ginger cakes and watermelons into a televised extravaganza curated by marketing masterminds. George Shea, who took over as host in 1991, turned the event into a theatrical performance, blending sports commentary with theatrical flair, elevating it to a cultural phenomenon that celebrates American indulgence. Despite health concerns and debates over its social implications, the contest persists as a symbol of American joy, patriotism, and the nation's love for larger-than-life spectacles, drawing crowds both in person and through millions of viewers. Reuters reports on South Korea's diplomatic efforts as its trade minister, Yeo Han-koo, prepares to travel to the United States amid looming tariff deadlines. With the deadline set for July 9, Seoul seeks to negotiate exemptions from U.S. tariffs on automobiles and steel, as well as a reciprocal 25% levy currently paused. Yeo emphasized that the substance of negotiations outweighs the deadline, and he plans to request an extension of the tariff pause while urging U.S. officials to accelerate talks toward a mutually beneficial agreement. The U.S. demands include better access to the agricultural and automotive sectors, along with fair treatment in digital trade. South Korea's approach reflects a flexible stance, balancing diplomatic negotiations with domestic political considerations, as both nations aim to avoid escalating trade tensions that could have far-reaching economic consequences. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation highlights how Donald Trump's recent legislation marks a dramatic shift in America's domestic landscape, fundamentally altering its immigration policies, environmental stance, and socio-economic structure. The bill effectively dismantles decades of relatively lenient immigration policies, imposing hefty fees on asylum seekers and refugees, increasing border enforcement, and discouraging illegal immigration by removing incentives for undocumented migrants to stay. This crackdown echoes Trump's America First rhetoric, aiming to curb border crossings that surged during the Biden era, but at the cost of the nation's reputation as a land of hope for those seeking better lives. Simultaneously, the bill signals a retreat from climate action, reversing previous gains in renewable energy incentives, and favoring oil and gas industries by easing leasing restrictions and reducing royalties. Princeton University models project a significant rise in greenhouse gas emissions by 2035, illustrating the bill's environmental toll. Economically, the legislation deepens inequality by making the largest tax cuts in U.S. history permanent, disproportionately benefiting the wealthy while slashing social safety nets like Medicaid and food assistance programs, risking millions of Americans losing vital support. Despite some measures aimed at aiding low-income workers, most analyses agree that the socioeconomic divide will widen, further entrenching disparities between the rich and the poor. Nikkei Asia discusses Trump's pragmatic, if somewhat abrupt, approach to renegotiating international trade, emphasizing the shift from detailed, bilateral agreements to a more streamlined process of issuing tariff rate letters to over 170 countries. This strategy reflects the complex realities of global trade negotiations, with Trump opting to specify tariffs, ranging from 10% to 50%, rather than engaging in time-consuming, case-by-case deals. While a handful of countries, including Vietnam, have reached specific agreements, many others remain subject to higher tariffs, with some facing rates as steep as 50%. The move signals a more aggressive, unilateral stance on trade, aiming to leverage tariffs as a tool for economic leverage, but it also introduces uncertainty and potential disruptions in international markets. The administration's goal of completing numerous trade deals within a tight timeframe faces skepticism, given the intricate nature of trade negotiations, and the looming threat of sharp tariff increases by July 9 could further complicate relations with key partners like the EU, India, and Japan. This approach underscores Trump's focus on protecting American industries and reshaping global trade dynamics, even as it risks igniting trade tensions and economic instability. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.